It's August 8th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with South Korea's first gold medal in taekwondo in 16 years. South Korea's Park Tae-joon is bringing home gold in the lightest division in men's taekwondo. South Korean high jumper Woo Sang-hyuk is now on the hunt for a gold in the men's high jump event. Following Hamas's announcement of its new top chief Yahya Sinwar, Israel expressed its commitment to finding and assassinating him. Iran welcomed the new appointment, even calling him a great combatant. The UK is bracing for another day of unrest, with anti-racism protests taking to the streets against far-right rallies. The riots began after 3 girls were killed by a suspect who was initially believed to be a Muslim and a migrant, angering some Britons who believe immigration is to blame for most deadly crimes. South Korea has taken back #1 spots in taekwondo, finally adding a gold in the traditional martial art at the Paris Olympics. Now, it's more meaningful that it's the country's first gold in the sport in 16 years. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Taekwondo is Korea's traditional martial art. It's an event the country long dominated in the past. But for 16 years, the South Koreans failed to win a gold medal in the sport at the Olympics. That all changed on Wednesday when Park Tae-joon claimed the top podium spot in the men's under 58-kilogram competition. On the first day of Taekwondo competitions in Paris, Park took a commanding lead in the final, winning the opening round 9-0 and the second round 13-1 against Gashim Magomedov of Azerbaijan. However, Magomedov withdrew due to injury with a little more than a minute left, giving Park the gold medal and the country's first ever top finish in the weight class. The gold medal for Park also gave South Korea their 12th gold in Paris, one shy of tying with its previous best. Over in the men's high jump event, South Korea's flag bearer and high jumper Woo Sang-hyuk cruised through in the qualification round to advance to the final. With the top 12 out of 31 jumpers qualifying for the final, Woo tied for third after clearing 2.27 meters. Woo has been one of the top jumpers in the world during the past 3 years, finishing 4th at the Tokyo Games. And another Woo qualified for the finals, this time Woo Haram in the men's 3-meter springboard event on Wednesday. The South Korean, who's considered a medal hopeful in the competition, finished 9th out of 18 divers in the semifinals with 432 points. Woo is hoping to better his 4th-place finish in Tokyo with a place on the podium. And speaking of a podium finish, the South Korean women's table tennis team is now 1 win away from clinching a spot in the finals and a shot at a podium finish. But the trio of Shin Yu-bin, Chun Ji-hee, and Lee Eun-hae have the tough task of facing off against the top-ranked China on Thursday. A medal in the competition would mean the country's first in team competition in 16 years. Meanwhile, South Korea currently has 12 gold, 8 silver, and 7 bronze medals in Paris, and still have a shot of adding more to the tally. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And South Korean archers returned home on Wednesday with a bundle of gold medals as a clear proof they are the world best in archery. Behind this incredible result, though, were careful, unseen efforts. Choi Soo-hyung tells us more.
In this Summer Olympics, Korean archery won gold medals in all 5 events, coming first in the men's and women's team events, individual events, and the mixed team event. Those results mean Team Korea has maintained its dominance in the Olympic women's team event, where it has won gold at every Olympics since Seoul 1988, when the event was first introduced. The men's team also secured a 3rd consecutive team victory following wins in Rio de Janeiro and Tokyo. Why is Korean archery the best in the world? First, the Korea Archery Association has supported the athletes with a meticulous management system. It's often said that becoming a national team member is harder than winning an Olympic gold medal because the national team selection is based purely on objective scores. As a result, top athletes with remarkable abilities continue to be nurtured across generations. In addition, Hyundai Motor Group, which has been supporting archers with innovative technology for 40 years, played a significant role. For this Summer Olympics, they created self-adjusting shooting robots, serving as a practice partner for Korea's world-class archers and helped them maximize their abilities. The robots automatically calculate wind, temperature, and humidity and demonstrate a high accuracy rate with an average score of 9.65 points, allowing athletes to train as if in real competition. Customized 3D printed bow hand grips were provided to each athlete to ensure the most comfortable draw, and a camera-based heart rate sensor monitors the athlete's conditions. To ensure perfect preparation, the Korea Archery Association created a replica of the Esplanade des Invalides Stadium in Paris, where the archery events took place. As Les Invalides is located right next to the Seine River, they also conducted wind speed training near the Namhangang River, which has similar wind conditions. The Archery Association is now preparing for the next chapter of Korean archery at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics in the U.S. with the best systems and support in place. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Israel remains dedicated to finding, attacking, and potentially killing Hamas's new leader, Yahya Sinwar. The U.S. has also expressed concerns about the appointment, calling Sinwar a brutal terrorist. Choi Min-jung reports.
Israel's military chief of staff has vowed to target the new Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar. Speaking during a visit to an Air Force base on Wednesday, Lieutenant General Herzi Halavi said the decision to name Sinwar as its new leader will not absolve him from the fact that he is a murderer.
We will make an effort to find him and attack him, and they can replace once again the head of the political bureau.
Sinwar is believed to be the mastermind behind the October 7th attack, when Hamas killed more than 1,000 people during an attack on Israel, including citizens from other countries.
Sinwar is a brutal terrorist with blood on his hands, including the blood of American citizens, and not just American citizens, but citizens of many countries around the world.
Israel's attack on Gaza continued despite the change in Hamas's leadership. The Israeli army issued new evacuation orders on Wednesday for Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. This comes as Israel announced it would forcefully and immediately operate against terror groups in the region, following a rocket attack fired from the area. Meanwhile, top Iranian commander Abdulrahim Musavi welcomed the appointment of Sinwar as the new political head of Hamas, calling him a great combatant. He added that the new leadership means that Israel will have to give up hopes of survival and collapse. Hamas on Tuesday chose Sinwar as its new leader after Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Iran last week by a strike which is presumed to have been launched by Israel. Regional tensions have soared after the killing. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Washington has urged North Korea to return to dialogue, stressing near consensus among the international community against the provocative actions by the regime. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller made the remarks on Wednesday, following U.S.-Australia Defense and Foreign Ministerial meeting in Maryland. The two sides called for a complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula in their joint statement. Miller added that Washington will continue to promote denuclearization despite the absence of dialogue with Pyongyang by continuing to consult with its allies and partners, adding that it's not just the U.S. calling for a return to diplomacy. And amid concerns that North Korean landmines along the inter-Korean border could be washed into the south by torrential rains, Miller said that the North should stop such destabilizing actions. And turning to our attention back to South Korea, while on his summer vacation, President Yoon spent 2 days at a naval base in Jinhae, meeting troops and playing a game of basketball. According to the top office on Wednesday, he also dined and spoke with the troops during his stay to give them encouragement. On Tuesday night, he also hosted dinner for troops that have been serving during North Korea's sinking of the South Korean Cheonan warship and shelling of Yeonpyeongdo Island, among others. There, he said, a strong defensive readiness not only protects the nation from North Korean troops, but also assures foreign investors to invest in the nation, as national defense is directly linked to South Korea's economy. Now, Yoon's vacation is still ongoing, with more destinations expected before his return to Yongsan. Samsung Electronics' 8-layer HBM3E chips have cleared Nvidia's tests for use. Now, how big of a deal is this? Let's connect with Professor Song Soo-young this morning. Welcome back, Professor Song.
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning. Good morning to you.
A version of Samsung's 5th generation of its high bandwidth memory chips has apparently passed Nvidia's test for use in its AI processors. Now, tell us, how important is this?
Yeah, currently the Samsung is not for front runner in the high bandwidth memory chips supplier. Actually, the consumer of these HBM3E, very most advanced chips, is just Nvidia, AMD, and Intel and Qualcomm, who has provided some graphics processing unit for the purpose of the generative AI. Currently, the generative AI, the future prospect is very promising, but however, its consumption is not at the level of it is not dominant in the semiconductor and the digital industry. So to that regard, currently, the SK Hynix actually remains a dominant supplier of the HBM3Es. But Samsung has now underway to make a deal with Nvidia. And the Nvidia, the purpose looks like Nvidia is trying to make a portfolio, because the SK Hynix has been they are very like some monopoly supplier in the market. So that's why currently the Samsung has been encouraged to participate in this HBM3E market and the most advanced semiconductor supplier in the industry.
So it is a big step for Samsung, considering it hasn't been a front runner in this field. Now, Samsung says that verification tests are still underway, with major clients effectively denying the claims. At the same time, Nvidia has declined to comment on the latest report. Now, why different comments here?
Yeah, why we have observed some very the opposite directions of the comments coming from the industry and some analysts. The reason, I think, is because this HBM buyer would like to have a very customized and some customer tailor-made HBM chips. But that is kind of a risk to the Samsung, because it could increase the hold-up problems, because only the HBM chips which was made too much tailor-made for some specific manufacturer or the buyer, then it is they cannot be available, or they cannot sell those products to other buyers. So that's why they have tried to adjust and deal, even though they are under the process of the optimization process. That's, I think, the most appropriate description of the current situation between the tussle between Samsung and Nvidia. Of course, Nvidia has a very strong incentive to encourage Samsung, as I mentioned earlier, because they do not want to be controlled, or they do not want to be susceptible only to the SK Hynix. That's why the Samsung and Nvidia and SK Hynix are engaged in some three-way negotiation process. That's why we have seen some opposite comments coming from different sources of the information.
Then what happens if the two companies actually end up signing a supply deal for the approved 8-layer chips? And apparently deliveries are expected to start by the fourth quarter of this year. Now, how will such a deal change the HBM market, like you said, when SK Hynix is taking a lead here?
Yeah, currently the HBM market takes almost only the 10% of the semiconductor all market. But Samsung has a very strong demand for Samsung chips, even though it's less advanced, such as third generation of HBM chips are very popular in the Chinese companies, Chinese manufacturers. The reason it is a way to circumvent the U.S. regulation against China. So, but SK Hynix only have the buying the consumption for the SK Hynix HBM in U.S. So that's why the SK Hynix has been recently awarded with some support from the Commercial Department of U.S. and they are going to build up the packaging company in Indiana in the U.S. But of course, the Samsung has also established build up some manufacturing factory in Austin or in Texas. But however, still, Samsung would like to keep some kind of a portfolio of the selling the chip products into not only in the U.S. but also in China and other countries. So that's why they have some differences. However, currently in HBM, these high bandwidth memory chips market, actually SK Hynix has started their R&D and manufacturing in 2013. But Samsung had started at 2015. That's why Samsung is a little bit behind the SK Hynix. But the prospect of the HBM market is, according to SK Hynix, they expect 82% per year increase of the consumption of semiconductor, HBM conductor. But we have to wait and see what happened to the generative AI, even though not too much over optimistic, because it could have, still we have that the general people and in the world and populace is not familiar with the generative AI and the usage of the AI. Of course, the prospect is promising, but not yet confirmed.
All right, Professor Song, thank you so much for your insight and joining us this morning. You have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning, I'm Kim Ji-young, and this is The World Now. Thousands of counter-protesters took to the streets in the UK on Wednesday against a recent violent protest that erupted following the deaths of 3 children in the Southport stabbing. Thousands of anti-racism protesters gathered in the capital, London, on Wednesday to counter-protest the expected far-right groups. Crowds of counter-protesters also took to the streets in Birmingham, Bristol, Liverpool, and Hastings, holding banners that read "Fight Racism, Stop the Far Right, and We'll Trade Racist for Refugees," while chanting "Hate Not Welcome Here" and "Racism Off Our Streets." Earlier online posts said that far-right protesters would target a number of immigration and migration support centres, as well as specialist law firms on Wednesday, forcing many businesses to close early and some even board up their windows. The government said they had reserved a so-called standing army of 6,000 specialist police officers to respond to reports of violence. The National Police Chiefs Council stated that 428 arrests were made in connection to the riots, and more than 120 of those have already been charged. In Thailand, the Constitutional Court on Wednesday ordered the dissolution of the reformist Move Forward Party, which won last year's election, saying that the party's effort to amend the royal defamation laws was unconstitutional. Wednesday's ruling also banned the Move Forward Party's former leader, Peter Limjaroenrat, and current chief, Chaithawat Tulathon, as well as 9 other senior party figures from politics for 10 years. This follows the Election Commission filing a petition against the Move Forward Party after the Constitutional Court ruled in January that the party's attempt to amend the Section 112 of the Thai Criminal Code, or the lèse majesté law, was unconstitutional. The banned former party leader, Limjaroenrat, however, said that he would ensure that the remaining reformist lawmakers continue to work, saying that, quote, the political project continues in a new vehicle which will be introduced on August the 9th. As only 11 senior figures were banned from political activities, the 142 Move Forward MPs who survived the verdict are expected to transfer to other parties to continue their role as the main opposition in parliament. Now moving over to Russia, a state of emergency has been declared on Wednesday in the Kursk region of the country as a rare cross-border attack by Ukrainian forces continued for a second day. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Wednesday that it was fighting intense battles against hundreds of Ukrainian troops that penetrated its southern border near the town of Sudza, where a major natural gas transmission hub is located. The Sudza gas hub is the only point of entry for Russian gas into the EU. Earlier the same day, Russian President Vladimir Putin called the attack another major provocation by the Kiev regime, while the acting regional governor of the Kursk region said thousands of people have been evacuated from border areas. The Kremlin added that the Ukrainian forces were supported by 11 tanks and over 20 armored combat vehicles, while Russia's health ministry reported 131 civilian injuries. The U.S. White House spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre, stated on Wednesday that the U.S. had no prior knowledge of the Ukrainian incursions and that it will contact Ukraine to understand the objective of the offensive. Banksy, a famed pseudonymous street artist whose real identity remains secret, revealed a third new stencil-style artwork in London on Wednesday. The newest artwork, featuring 3 swinging monkeys, was found on a bridge over East London's Brick Lane, close to the Shoreditch High Street. This is the third piece to be unveiled just this week, following a depiction of a goat on a ledge with falling rocks in Richmond on Monday, and an image of 2 elephants poking their heads out of windows, which appeared in Chelsea on Tuesday. The latest artwork was confirmed as authentic through a post on the artist's Instagram account.
Good morning. Wet clouds are passing the capital and nearby areas at this hour, and Gangnam area has been seeing 20 millimeters an hour of heavy showers since earlier in the day. Keep an umbrella handy. It should rain on and off throughout the day today. Meanwhile, southern provinces will see passing showers with up to 80 millimeters in the forecast, along with thunderstorms. Downpours are expected for Gyeongsang-Namdo province during the day today. Rain does not mean heat relief for most of us. It will continue to be oppressively hot in most parts. Well, Gyeongju saw temperatures soaring to 38.4 degrees yesterday. But at least today's rain should give some relief to Gyeongju. Meanwhile, Seoul, Gwangju, Tae-joon will be topping out at 33 degrees Celsius this afternoon. And it is the summer vacation season here in Korea, but major beaches are less crowded this year due to searing heat. Many seem to be choosing indoor activities. Heat stays in place until next week, on and off showers. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day and Arirang. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Until then, goodbye.